Hi, welcome. This is our final Pride Safety class. It's been a three-part series, so if you missed either of the first two classes, they are up on our YouTube channel. We are PACS, Personal and Community Safety, and that's what you look up on YouTube, PACS, Personal and Community Safety, and you'll see our Pride Safety 1 and Pride Safety 2. That's also a great place to learn about upcoming classes, or you can follow us on social media. Our next series of classes is going to begin in April, and it's called, it's one of our Safer Together, Thinking Clearly Under Pressure. So tune in for that one. In the meantime, I'm just going to do a quick recap of just some of our sort of expectations around here. This class should feel safe and fun. Take care of yourself. Take care of anybody that you're working with. Be careful with each other. You deserve to feel safe, and you deserve to be whomever you are in the world and to feel safe. And if somebody hurts you, somebody attacks you, tries to harm you, it's never your fault. You deserve to feel safe. The goal of self-defense is to keep you safe, right? So it's not to retaliate against somebody. It's to get away from a dangerous situation with the least amount of physical, mental, emotional harm. And that doesn't always feel fair, but life isn't a movie or a video game. And finally, the goal of all of our classes here at PACS is to teach you some tools and techniques if you're actually in a physical self-defense situation. It's to have you proactively think about self-protection, that bigger picture, and it's to help you feel empowered so you can move through the world knowing that you have these skills. I want to go over, we've covered a lot in our first two classes. I want to go over kind of hopefully just some practices that you've already incorporated into your daily or weekly life. And if not, now's the time to do that. Breathing, right? Breathing for peak performance. And we're going to all do that together in a few minutes. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more then. Practice your side-to-side circular motions, right? This is something that you can just take 5 minutes every day or every other day and practice by yourself. Practice the strikes. We've covered a lot of strikes in the first two classes, and Matthew's going to go over more strikes today. And honestly, it can be a little bit overwhelming if you don't have a lot of experience with this stuff. So pick one. Pick one strike and just practice that one until you're comfortable. And then when you're ready to incorporate more, go back to the videos and pick the next one, okay? Matthew also did a really great section on rollbacks and falling, and I really strongly recommend that you take a look at that. We also have like a short, I think a 10-minute short you can look for, or it's in the first video. So practice that because it's really empowering to know that you can fall without getting hurt, and it's a life skill. Literally yesterday, I slipped down my stairs. I was slightly embarrassed about this, but I fell and I did not get hurt. I was totally fine. So it's a life skill, especially as we get older. Okay, and also practice checking in with yourself, right? How are you feeling? What's comfortable for you? What are boundaries that you feel are comfortable for you? What are your stress responses, right? Those responses that our body automatically does. The 5 Fs, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, flop. Practice thinking about those and noticing those as you go about your days. Practice situational awareness. We covered that a lot in a previous class. Think about situational awareness when you go into, say, a restaurant, right? And you've got to pick a seat. What's the seat that maybe keeps you the safest, right? And maybe also practice sort of assessing people. They don't even have to be interacting with you, right? But if you're looking at, people watching, right? What's somebody's state of mind, right? Do they look happy and are they having fun, or they look a little aggressive, right? And we're not talking about profiling, but just this idea of like learning how to read other people. The more we practice all of these skills, the better off we're going to be when the time comes and we're actually in a dangerous situation, right? So think about those things. If you haven't already had a chance, take a few minutes, maybe right after this class is over, and add any hotline phone numbers. Make sure you've got your location sharing turned on, and you've got a couple friends or family members that you feel safe and comfortable with that have your location. And likewise, be willing to do that for them, right? Like, have it go both ways. We are all part of this community, and you get to do your part in helping to keep your loved ones safe also, right? So have that conversation with somebody and just make that a practice, a daily habit, right? Think about personal protection devices. If you haven't had a chance to watch Galena has a great, I don't know how long it is, I think it's like 10 or 15 minutes, another one of our shorter videos that you can take a look at. It has a lot of great information on personal protection devices as well as weapons. So just something to think about. Again, we're proactively thinking. We're not recommending one way or the other. You decide for yourself. But if you decide that there's something that you want to do, maybe get a strobe flashlight or whatever, go ahead and order that, right? So take care of all those things. The other thing we recommend is taking martial arts classes. There's a lot of great reasons to take them. They're a lot of fun. They are great for fitness, and they also give you so many more tools. We are covering really just extremely effective, but the bare minimum of tools here to help you stay safe. And we also have a great community in martial arts studios where you can practice these techniques on a regular basis with people who know how to fall, who know how to move out of the way if you're trying to hit them, right? Because that's all part of the practice. So we recommend it. We at PAX are a sister organization to ENSO Center. ENSO Center is located in Redmond, Washington. We're a suburb of Seattle, and we've been teaching classes here for decades. So we're a lot of fun, so we would love to have you come join us. We are donation-based, so it's kind of pay as you can, and if you can't pay right away, you're welcome to classes anyway. If you are not in our area, we have connections all over the United States and really all over the world, so you can drop your location in our comments and we will respond with a recommendation. So we're gonna breathe. Does anybody wanna breathe with me? So one of the things that I want to, we're gonna do some gathering breaths. These are just my favorites and I get to decide right now because I'm doing this. That's the way it works. We talked about a little bit in our previous classes, this idea of scanning our bodies as we're doing this and looking for maybe points of tension and releasing those. I also want to make the comment that this is a great way to connect with our bodies. Our bodies have a lot of great information for us, and the more we can partner with them, the better off we're going to be. I know that that can be tricky for some people in the queer and trans community, right? Some people are experiencing body dysmorphia and it's uncomfortable. Think about this as a different way to have a relationship with your body and know that your body can really do powerful things for you. Obviously, a lot of people in the queer and trans community have a very robust relationship with their bodies, and that's great too. But if you're not one of those people, try to think about it as a different way to relate to yourself, okay? So we're just gonna start. We're just gonna breathe in, gather, and out. And we're going to do 5 of these total. Oh, one more thing before we do the next one. Remember that I was talking about peak performance, right? So the idea that we have some way to sort of click into that automatic response, right? That peak performance. So whether it's, you know, a little head nod or your word spaghetti or your heel tap, right? Hopefully you're doing that in your head or physically right now. Hopefully you're doing these with us right now. And you're practicing so that you're ready when you need it, okay? So 2. In. I think that was 4, so we're going to do one more. All right, excellent. And now I am going to turn it over to Matthew.
So we're going to be working on our striking section here. One thing we're going to do is I'm going to show one more Tanjan breathing, kind of talking about what I do for my scanning the body, because it's going to relate to how we do our side to side in our strikes. So when I'm breathing out, I'm trying to get my body to rotate my arms as far as I can, so I can feel if I get any tension in my shoulders, kind of near that shoulder blade. As it rolls up, I want to find where in my shoulders can I get that body weight to feel like it sinks down to my feet. If I can get that kind of connection between my feet to the ground, it means that my turns and strikes will be really strong. As I start to breathe out from here, I'm trying to find, do I catch in my shoulders as they roll forward? Do I find it in my hips, my abs, my chest, any of those spots that feel tight. I want us to think about letting them relax and release. Okay. As we move on to our next piece, we're going to work on side to side. If I could have Jason holding the pad over here for me. When we do our side to side without hitting the pad first, right, we shift our weight from one side to the other side, one side to the other side. This is really important for our power, right? If we want to hit something and move it effectively, our arms are just not that strong in comparison to the rest of our body, so we want to use our whole body motion as much as possible. So if I'm hitting the pad with just arms, it's okay, but it doesn't move a whole lot. If I instead use my hips, turning, it moves it a lot more because it's my whole body weight behind it. Sorry, my whole body weight behind it. So we're going to practice that side to side. If you have a pad, great. If not, just do it in your own space and think about relaxing your body and turning quickly rather than trying to push hard. The more you think about pushing hard, the more you're going to use muscles that get in the way of the muscles you want to use. If you think like your bicep and your tricep, if I think about a punch and I'm really tense with my arm, I'm fighting one of the directions with my tense bicep versus the straightening out of my tricep, right? We don't want to use counter motion against ourselves. Instead, we just want to let our body relax. So with side to side, just turn, turn. You can use both hands if you want, but it's really getting that whole body turn. So can I have some people who'd like to practice some of our strikes come on out as well? There are pads over to the side, so you guys can all have some pads. And you're just going to kind of swing. Good. All right, now we're going to be specific about which thing we're going to hit with this time. So we're going to introduce some different strikes than we've been doing before. This one is called back fist. So if we make a nice fist shape with our hands, curling our fingers so we don't stick our thumb inside the center because that'll hurt your thumb. We're going to use the very back knuckles of your pointer finger and your middle finger, and we're going to do that same shape. So as I swing, if I'm doing really slow with my left hand, I'm going to hit left, and if I want to hit with the right, I turn my right hand upside down to be able to hit it the same way. So it goes right, left, right. All right? Now, everybody try that with yourselves. Good. Next one we're going to do is we're going to look at elbow. So we're going to do a couple different elbow strikes. We talked about one in our previous pack session about elbow striking backwards. And that's kind of a natural motion you'll see a lot of people take, right? If I'm walking and something's interesting behind me, I'm going to turn to look behind me. Even if you're not thinking about grabbing and pulling as hard as you can, a turn behind you elbow is pretty effective because your body's behind it, right? All of that power from your legs and your core is going to back up that elbow. So when we do this one, if you want to hit it with a pad, absolutely great. If you don't have access to a pad, I'll show you what that'll look like. We're going to do from here, side, back, side, back, side, back, side, back. If you want to add the next piece, this is a forward elbow. Again, I'm using my hips to generate it, so if the pad is pointed right straight at me, instead of coming here and going, there's not a lot of force behind that. If I think that my weight shifts fully to the other side, that has a lot of power. And you notice that back elbow happens as a result. They're both helping each other for that hit. So I can think one elbow, second elbow, one elbow, second elbow. If you want this one to be lower, it works fine any height other than way above your head. If you can do that and hit Shaq, great, but most of us are not going to be fighting people who are 7 feet tall. So from here, with your partners. All right, this is the fun one where you get to just relax and just kind of spin and smack things, which makes life easy. So our next one we're gonna do is we're gonna do knees, because we don't just have arms, we have legs. Legs are big and strong, and they have a lot of reach. So from here, if he holds the pad kind of flat this way, I'm gonna take my knee and almost like I'm about to do a crunch, but instead of keeping my knee close to me, I'm gonna try and get my knee to make this big upwards arc as far from me as I can. That's what gets you a lot of power, because your hips back each other up, and then you get all of these big muscles in the sides and your butt and your abs all to hit together. So knee strikes, do at least a few each leg. You're gonna come up and strike. I like these ones. Good. All right, and last one we're gonna do is just to kind of give one little quick talk about is, remember, any of these can be done in any combination. So if I wanted to do back fist, elbow, I could. If I wanted to do knee strike, elbow, you sure can. World's your oyster. You can do any of the ones you like, but the more tools that you practice, the more tools you have options for. If you only ever practice one, that's okay. Sometimes you only need a hammer, right? But if I need to screw something in, having just a hammer does make it a little harder to do, though you could just smash that screw into the wood and hope for the best, but sometimes it's good to give yourself a little more tools than that. So the last one I want to think about, as we've talked about in all the PAX ones, is adding a yell, right? So if I do a strike, if he's holding a pad for me again, even if the strike isn't a great strike, adding that yell, right? These are okay strikes, but if I go, hi, his body's gonna feel that, because there's that intent coming towards him, right? If that yell is directed preferably towards one side of his body versus straight on, it makes his body want to move, right? If you think about a loud sound to the side of you, you're gonna try to look or move to adjust to it. So if I come here and I hit, hi, I want his body to respond to that. If it's straight on, hi, his body doesn't have that same response, okay? And that's really it. Thank you guys very much. I believe Laura's our next section. Do you already have Micah? You do already have Micah. All right, thank you guys.
So we think of self-defense as being very much event-driven. So there is this flashpoint event where something has happened and you now feel the need to defend yourself or perhaps defend another member of your community, and maybe you call on specific self-defense techniques like the ones Matthew and Jason have been teaching us. That's how we think about self-defense. Self-protection we think of as a much larger framework, and it's the kind of framework that can begin the moment your feet hit the ground in the morning when you get out of bed, or mid-afternoon when you get out of bed, depending on how late you were up the night before. Not going to spend a lot of time on talking about self-protection. What we're going to be doing in a few minutes is we're going to be going over some scenario-based examples of what the various phases of self-protection look like. We've also done a specific video on this that you can find up on our YouTube channel. But just to give you a quick, just sort of a quick review in case you haven't been able to see some of our previous sessions, or in case you've forgotten. What, you mean you don't watch these videos every day? Come on, let's get with the program here. So when we think about the levels of protection, I think about 4 different levels of protection. First level of self-protection is what we call the base level. And again, this is what happens when you pop your feet out of bed. And this is being aware of yourself and being aware of your surroundings. Being aware of yourself, being aware of your body. How is your body feeling today? How are you moving today? Are you feeling great and all of your joints are happy? I want to know how you do that, because I don't tend to wake up that way most mornings. And so just being aware of how your body is going to respond in a particular moment. We all like to think that we're just going to walk around feeling awesome and immortal all day. all day, every day. But if I have an injury, if I slept on my knee wrong and it feels a certain way, I want to be aware of that because that could impact how I choose to respond to something that might happen to me later on in the day. Second level of self-protection, situational awareness. Know your environment. Where are you? What is around you? What are the people who are around you? Who are the people who are around you? What is the community that you are a part of? If you're out in a public setting, is this a setting that you're familiar with? Is this a setting where you have friends, where you have community? Or is this maybe a new setting that you haven't been to before? Let's say it's a nightclub that you haven't been to before. Walk up to the bartender, introduce yourself, say hello, might come in handy later. Being aware of not just potential dangers, but also sources of aid. Where could you go for help if you needed to? And then the third level of protection is what we call that actual self-defense flashpoint. Something has gone wrong and now you must take an action to defend yourself, to defend a member of your community. And again, we're gonna spend a pretty decent chunk of time on this a little bit later in the hour, so I'm not gonna really drain that. I do want to talk about our fourth level of self-protection, which is what we call recovery, is what we call healing. And this, to me, much as I hate to choose favorites, I would say this might be the most important level of self-protection, because when you think about any self-defense training, any kind of martial arts training, or any self-defense training, the real reason we do it is so that you can return to a place of safety. We do not live in a John Wick movie. I don't want to be fighting the bad guys 24/7, 365. I want to go back to a place of safety where I am with my family, where I am with my friends and my community, and my cat sitting on my couch watching Cold Case. It's my happy place. And so when I think about recovery, after that self-defense flashpoint, after that event has happened, it's useful to think about what are specific steps that you are going to take to bring yourself back to that place of recovery, to that place of healing. We've talked in previous videos about managing the sympathetic versus the parasympathetic nervous system, doing breathing exercises, doing mindfulness exercises. It can also be something as simple as being aware of what happened to your body during that self-defense flashpoint. I once walked away from a car accident and my adrenaline was so jacked up that I went home without going to the hospital, against everyone's advice, and didn't realize for an hour that I'd broken my arm. Adrenaline is a wonderful thing, and adrenaline can save you during a self-defense flashpoint situation because it can give you the energy to protect yourself. It can give you the extra steps you need to be able to run away. But once that flashpoint is over and you are looking to, frankly, re-enter the world, be aware of what has happened to your body, be aware of perhaps any injuries that you've sustained. That's from a physical perspective. From a mental, from an emotional perspective, what do you need to heal yourself, to heal your community from that mental and that emotional standpoint? This can be engaging with community, engaging with supportive family and friends, possibly seeking medical care, seeking counseling, seeking therapy. Something that we talk about a lot, that Jen talked a lot about last week, was responding to and potentially even reporting the incident. This could mean reporting it to a trusted community member, reporting it to a trusted family member. I'm going to mention reporting to law enforcement, recognizing that that is not an option for everyone. That is not a safe option for everyone, and if it is not a safe option for you, that's okay. But think about what are other avenues that you can turn to, because reporting an incident can be extremely valuable in protecting yourself and protecting other community members from perhaps something untoward happening to them at some point in the future. So, baseline, situational awareness, flashpoint moment, healing. This is what we think of as the self-protection framework that informs how we approach both PAC's and ENSO Center's philosophy on self-defense and self-protection. That is what I have for my section, and I am turning over to Jason. I'll be back.
Thank you, Laura. I want to talk a little bit today about these same concepts in relation to hate speech, verbal abuse, and bullying. So one of the hard things when you're dealing with hate speech is that it elicits the same responses that Laura was talking about, the fight or flight, the freeze, the faint, and the fawn. All these things can start to happen from that. And while they're important, as she mentioned, they can also get rid of clear judgment. They can also get rid of peripheral vision. So to maintain those things on our base level, we really want to have ability to stimulate the parasympathetic, the relaxation response, the breathing exercises. And that's why we're doing them every session, is we really need to get in touch with those so that not so we can get rid of the sympathetic, not so we get rid of the fight or flight, but so that we can get rid of the negative effects of those and take the benefits at the same time. So when someone is saying things to purposely upset you that are cruel, purposely cruel and harmful and hateful, know that they know that. They're probably trying to elicit that response in you. They're trying to get you to do something that gives them the excuse to escalate and to blame you for those things. So knowing that, take a second, focus and breathe. Even though you feel very threatened, if you don't think you're being physically threatened at the time, you can take the time to decide what the best case of action is. Know yourself. Practice these things. So when you're out in everyday life, look at the little things that start to bother you in the same way and practice eliciting that relaxation response during that sympathetic system, during that fight or flight. As you're looking around and you're seeing these things start to escalate, look for the rhythm of the room. Look for the rhythm of what's going on around you. How does it feel? What's changing? And this is that base level. So base level, know yourself, practice so you know how to affect yourself when you need to, and then start to look at your environment and feel that rhythm that's going on inside. And then as it starts to move into the second level or the second phase, is that rhythm changing around you? So at our second phase, it's knowing the environment, knowing the dangers. So even if you're not sure that something is going to escalate, keep an eye on the exits. Keep an eye on who might be an ally, someone who might help you in the situation. And you can kind of test it. So connect with people so that you have that feeling of stability in the community, even if it's a new community for you. As we go through, you might be in a situation where you're in a new place. Ideally, you have a friend either that you can reach by phone or that is there with you. And then talk a little bit ahead of time. Plan and prepare for that. Evaluate. Will the community help you? When you engage with people, it's also a diagnostic. So if you're not sure if the situation is a really stable one and you engage someone, you'll quickly find out if that is a source of aid as well. Is it possible to de-escalate? So when you're in a situation, you feel that rhythm changing and things are starting to get into a more difficult situation, can you use humor? Can you change the focus? Can you be absurd? Or can you leave the situation as you feel that starting to come? One of the things you can do there is to set clear boundaries. So know if someone is starting to do those things that you associate with aggressive behavior, angry behavior, hateful behavior. So we can set a clear boundary in our space. We can set a clear boundary of if they're saying something that you find hurtful, to let them know. And this is not necessarily just so that they'll stop, but to tell if they're going to stop. Tell if you need to do something else in order to make the situation flow more easily, or if you need to know that you need to get away from the situation, or if you see it escalating beyond hate speech into actual harm. physical harm, because hate speech is harm. It is emotional harm. So know that, and we want to prepare for it in the same way. For when we get to the point when you realize that things have escalated and the person is fixated on you, they've shown you those indicators that they are a dangerous person, fixation, they may be sweating, they may be altered. Any one of those things is not necessarily, doesn't necessarily mean that something terrible is going to happen, but it means you want to be on higher alert. So we've moved into that third phase where we see several indicators happening, and we want to figure out how can we change the direction, how can we adjust things so that we don't move to a physical interaction. Remembering that that may be their intent. Their intent with hate speech and bullying and verbal abuse might be to get you to do something minorly physical so they feel justified in doing something more physical and escalating the situation. So as we do that, we want this idea of getting to safety. Your goal is to get to safety and to minimize harm. We want to make it difficult for the other person to continue to do the thing that they're doing. That might be by removing ourselves from the situation. It might be calling in other members of the community. It might be being messy and loud and unpredictable. It could be nonsensical or childish. Try to disrupt the negative rhythm that they're building in order to move towards this. You might ask someone to start filming. You might start filming with your phone. Again, this does one thing. It helps for our reviewing, our recording, and possibility of reporting, but it also lets them know that they're part of a larger community that might not find that acceptable, especially when it's not just that small local community. Oftentimes people empower each other to do things and negative things, but if they realize they're part of a larger community, they'll check themselves just a little bit more. If you are engaging someone to help you in that, you want to remember our 1, 2, 3. Pick one person to make contact, 2 eyes, look at them, and try to use a short phrase or even one word to engage them to help. You know, get help, please film. I'm afraid. It can be anything like that. When you're engaging someone to stop doing something, we want to use that same 1, 2, 3. Look at them. So we want to pick one person, look at them with 2 eyes, and clearly say, stop, no, maybe 2 or 3 words, that's not okay. These kind of things elicit response from the community, and it also lets them know that that's not an okay thing to do. Then as we've moved from that point, we want to get to safety. Remember, that's your primary goal. Get to safety so you can reevaluate, figure out, and check to make sure that everything is okay. As Laura mentioned, is your arm broken? What exactly happened? We're often surprised by the situation as we get there. So getting to safety, consider reviewing. Well, actually, you should review and report is a possibility. So review, record, and consider reporting. Review, record, and consider reporting. That's part of your self-care. Do your breathing exercises so that you feel stable where you're supposed to be. And then engage your community. And that can be your personal community, or it could be some of our help numbers that you'll find on the website, or it could be a support network you've already set up. All of those things are really important. No phase is more important than the other. You'll spend a lot more time at your base stage, so get good at that one. Then when you're moving into that second stage, practice evaluating your environment, and remember to also practice the recovery stage. You can find classes to help you in all the different stages at Enso Center, and then we can also recommend them to you in other places. So, thank you very much. Moving into some physical scenarios, as well as emotional.
Okay, and we're back. So we are going to go over some real world-ish scenarios here. So things that you might encounter out in the world, and how you might incorporate these various stages of self-protection and self-defense. The reason I say real world-ish is because we are all still friends here. and we all want to be happy and safe together. Jen is my very dear friend, and so we're not going to be like blasting through each other during these scenarios because we like each other and we don't want to hurt each other. And also we want to be able to give you instruction which gets easier when it's done at a slightly slower pace. So just so you understand what you're looking at in these scenarios. What we're going to start with is, this is one of those, it's unfortunate, but we're going to be sanguine and realistic about it. This is going to be a scenario where I am being given trouble in various degrees going into a restroom. It is unfortunate but real in our current climate that can be a thing that happens. I am a cis woman. My pronouns are she, her. I also have very short hair and an extremely muscular build. I have been given trouble in a bathroom. And I just want to reiterate things that we've talked about throughout this entire series, which is there is nothing about who you are, how you present yourself in the world that makes anything of this nature okay. It is never your fault. It is never anything that you did. You have the right to feel safe. You have the right to protect yourself. And so we are setting the scenario here. I am going to be in the bathroom, washing my hands like a normal person, and Jen is going to, I don't know, do some stuff.
Hey, this is the women's restroom. You shouldn't be in here.
Go. Notice, 1, 2, 3. I picked the one person, granted she was the only one here, met two eyes, and used a bit of humor. What are you talking about? And one word, go. We're going to do the scenario again. We're going to ramp it up a little bit. Jen is going to be a little more active in engaging here. Washing my hands
Hey,
like
you shouldn't be here.
Go. That did happen a little fast because sometimes they do. Notice that what we did was the #1 grab release that we learned last week that Jason taught us. I just happened to have done it with one hand. All right, now we're gonna get a little something here. Like we're gonna take this probably to what I would consider this like a 7 out of 10 flashpoint sort of level. I'm washing my hands like a normal person.
You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't
Go,
be here.
go,
You need to get away. You need to go. You need to go.
So that was fun. Now, going to talk through this one a little bit because we haven't done this scenario yet as part of this series. So I am up against a wall. This person is all up in my bubble. Hi, Jen. How you doing?
Hi.
And she's got both of my arms. This is one of these situations that if you have not planned for it, if you have not prepared, if you have not trained for it, this can feel really scary. Yeah. In particular, this can feel like you have no options. I would like us to take a moment, take a little breath, and recognize how many options are still available to us. Yes, she's got my hands. I've got my knees. Matthew just taught us how to use those. I've got my feet. Matthew just taught us how to use those. And also, I'm going to teach you a little magic trick. So, Jen is putting all of her force into this wall to keep my arms on this wall. If my fight or flight kicks in, my natural response is going to be to push back, to try to push my arms off of the wall. But that becomes strength against strength. Basically, it's arm wrestling. Maybe I win, maybe Jen wins. I don't like my self-defense to be predicated on being stronger because someone's always going to be stronger than me. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to that circular motion principle that we've been talking about throughout our entire series, where rather than trying to push directly back against Jen, I'm going to use this wall to my advantage. I'm going to move my arm up and down like this. It's hard to see on the video, but I assure you, Jen is trying to keep me from moving my arm, and she can't, because she's putting all of her force into the wall, and I'm moving it another way. I'm going to take this other arm. I'm going to do the same thing. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take one arm up. I'm going to take one arm out to the side. I'm going to use my whole body in that circular motion. Really, I just wanted to change places with Jen. I wanted Jen to be against the wall. And now I have an exit. And because we're not in a John Wick movie, I'm heading for the door. Sweet. We're going to run through those again, kind of really quick with a little less talking. Just kind of all three. One just very verbal, one doing a simple grab, and then the third one being, again, kind of at the height of ramped upness. So.
Hey, this is the women's restroom. You shouldn't be here.
You need to leave.
Hey, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here. Hey, you need to get out of here. This isn't for you. This isn't your place. You shouldn't be here. No, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here.
And maybe Jen stays with me.
You need to go.
You good?
Yeah.
Hi! And now I really have an exit, and I'm going to take it.
Apologies. So Cecilia and I are going to work on this next section. This time Cecilia is going to be the one doing the defense, but I'll do some talking because it's hard to kind of do both at the same time. So if she's sitting down in like crisscross applesauce, this could be in a whole bunch of different situations. We can think like we're on a college campus and she's just kind of like on the common grounds or something like that, you know, reading a book or who knows what, right? Just socializing with friends. If I'm somebody that's really obnoxious, well, I might be, but more so than normal, I come up and I grab her ponytail. This is a bad spot for her because I've got control of her head. I want to pull and keep control. From here, she's going to do first defense, where she traps it against her body this way. She's going to lock it a little bit up this way and then push it away and give me that one-word response.
Stop.
Right? Gives a nice, clear, full sentence, just like that. All right, let's do it one more time, but without me interrupting you while you do it. All right.
Stop.
Good. Yeah, sorry, we're gonna have to readjust that ponytail a few times. All right, so our next one, I'm even more obnoxious, right? So this time, I'm here, and maybe I'm like threatening a little bit as I do it, you know, I'm very aggressive at this point. Now she knows maybe she doesn't just want me to just walk away. She wants to get rid of me from the situation, remove me from this specific location. So now she's gonna take this into a grab, turn a little, and then she's gonna turn it into a throw, almost like she's gonna do a big bow. Right, very nice. When you notice from there, she's using her whole body forward. Again, that whole body motion, doing that side to side first, whole body motion gets a lot of power. All right, one more time, please. Right. You notice we're not using our words as much on that one because it's gotten a little bit more escalated, right? We're building up and building up. Now, our last one this time.
Really quick.
Oh, go ahead. Yes.
When I'm throwing him, it's not hurting me at all.
Yes.
It's not pulling my hair because I'm holding on.
Yes. Yeah. That's why we're trapping it to our body. Is we don't want to pull out our hair as we do it. What? All right. And standing up. So here, this time maybe she's walking around or whatever. So if I'm grabbing and pulling from a standing position, this is pretty serious because if I just pull, she'll fall on her back, and if she doesn't know how to fall, that's a really scary spot, right? Her head would be leading that fall. So from here, she's going to trap it, and she's going to do a spin. She's going to turn and keeping it in the same spot. If she goes one way and it feels stuck, she can go the other way. She can keep going that way if she wants to as well. Fully keep spinning and keep spinning and keep spinning as many times as she wants until I can't hold on anymore. Then she doesn't have to hold me up anymore. She can just let me drop like that. Okay? This is important as well. If you have like a toupee or wigs or anything like that, if you're holding their hair and your hair can just go with them without hurting you, that's great. I mean, wigs are expensive, but not more than your safety, right? So that is a handy thing. But if, you know, we have hair like Cecilia or my own, where it's longer and attached to our head fully, you want to keep that trapped in so we don't lose it. All right, one more time, please. Thank you very much, Cecilia.
A couple things about when we're doing self-defense scenarios. They take practice. So no two self-defense scenarios happen the same way. Even if you practice 100 times, when you reach that actual situation, it's going to be different. So practice is going to be the biggest thing. I always when I'm teaching martial arts, I often get people say, well, what if they had a knife? You know, what if they had a gun? What if they had a missile launcher? What if they're flying by in a plane? We want to practice so that we can see what's reasonable, what's the amount of reasonable force to use, what's a reasonable situation, and what is most likely that you're going to need when you're practicing. The next one that I'd like to do is when we have a crowd situation. So it's really noisy. This subtle connection and community is not as possible. So how do we use that to our advantage? If I could have a crowd of people here, and we are looking at this amazing thing over here, probably some music, someone speaking, something loud going on. And I have my two, hopefully in the future, friends over here as part of the crowd. And so in this situation, remember, the most important thing is get to safety. How do we get to safety? How do we deal with the situation so that it has the least amount of impact on us long-term as possible? So in this situation, we have loud music, imagine, in the background, and I've come up and I'm being a bully, being angry, being aggressive. I've shown some of those indicators that I'm a dangerous person. So as I come here and I'm going, you guys aren't supposed to be here.
What?
You're not supposed to be here.
Can't hear you. I gotta go.
What? You're not supposed to? Okay, so then we've escalated the situation again. So if I could please have you guys come back. I can't, where did they go? Okay, there they are. Okay, so this time, I saw that happen to my friend. So this time I'm gonna try to grab one of them. So as I'm here, which I always think is funny. Well, we saw that in the previous one. A great indicator that something is really wrong is when someone grabs you and says, you're not supposed to be here. Why are they grabbing you and keeping you here when they're telling you you're not supposed to be here? That's a good indicator. Okay, so this time, and they did a great job here. I tried to get to one and the other got in the way. Fixation is a really strange thing. So if I'm fixated and another person comes in between, I tend to stay fixated on that person. It would make much more sense to move to the next person. And that does happen sometimes. You want to prepare for it. But you'll see that where they're like, they'll just keep moving in order to try to get to that person. So from here, you seemed sneaky. You're not supposed to be here. And then you guys disappear through the crowd. Okay, so next one. This time I've held on a little bit tighter, and the two of them may need to move me more forcefully. Again, the intent is not to harm me, but to clearly, remember that clarity is kindness, they're going to let me know where to go quickly, clearly, and then they're going to disappear. So this time, as I've snuck in, I've grabbed one person, I've moved to grab the other person, they've done their side-side circular motion, they've moved together, they move me, they start to disappear through the crowd. And then excellent bystanders here are making that a little bit difficult for me. Let's do one last one, and with a loud yell. And you could yell for someone else or engage someone else in the community. You're too good at this. Let me get a hold so Cecilia can do the grab release. I'll say, hey, look at them. You're not supposed to be here. Grab release, move, engage, move me. And hey, I was just, they're not supposed, oh. Thank you very much, you guys. Good work.
So hello, everyone. Told you I'd be back. Did you all have fun? Did you learn something? Was it educational for you? We really hope that that was the case. This was the final class in our current 3-week Pride Safety series. We hope that you've enjoyed all of them. If you missed any, they are up on our YouTube channel along with several specific technical videos. Matthew has a great video on falling down and popping back up safely. We had a 3-week women's safety series prior to this one. All of those recordings are up. One of our senior instructors, Galina Lemke, did a really great technical deep dive on personal protection devices that you would probably also find super useful and super informative. Before we wrap up and before we say goodbye, I really want us to focus on a topic that's come up a lot for us during this hour, and that is healing and returning to safety. I really want to focus on that today because of the focus that we've just had on these different self-defense scenarios. And so I hope this was enjoyable for you. I hope this was fun for you. But maybe there were parts of it that weren't. Maybe there were some of those scenarios that we worked on that like brought something up for you, or maybe it felt a little crunchy, felt a little something for you. If that happened, I want you to know that that is okay. That is expected, that is normal, and that is why we as a community work together and practice together and laugh together while we're pinning each other up against walls, because we are still a community and we are still friends and we are still family. So from a physical perspective, we're going to take a moment to kind of return to a baseline, return to that sort of normal functioning of the world. We're going to do a little bit of breathing together. We're going to do that same gather and focus that we did at the top of the hour. So we're going to stand with our feet kind of shoulder width apart. We're going to pretend our head is suspended from above us as if it's by a string. You can feel your spine get nice and long. Maybe kind of roll your head a little. We're going to take 3 breaths. We're going to breathe in. Allow your eyes to follow your hands up. As we breathe out and bring our hands down, we're going to use this as a scan of our body. Remember that we talked about assessing your body after a flashpoint situation. Do you have any points of tension? Do you have any points of pain? Do you have anything that you need to go and maybe look into afterwards? As we breathe out. We're going to do that 2 more times, and I'm going to talk a little less so I can breathe because I need it too. And then breathe out. Last one. Okay. Last thing I'd like you to do, it's a little favorite grounding technique of mine. Whatever space you are in right now, if you're in your home, if you're with friends, if you're maybe out in a park somewhere, I want you to look around. I want you to look around your surroundings. I want you to acknowledge where you are. I want you to pick a color. It could be your favorite color. It could be whatever color is in your head right now. I want you to identify anything you can see that is of that color. I picked green because it's easy, because the mats are green. I cheated a little, maybe. There you go. Of course you did. Of course you did. So look around, acknowledge that this is the space I am in. It is real. I am safe. I am surrounded by community and friends. Again, thank you so much for being here. This was, as I said, the final installation of our Pride Safety series. Our next PAC series is going to be starting on April the 5th at noon Pacific. This is going to be one of our Safer Together curriculums. We're going to be focusing on thinking clearly under pressure. So we invite you to come and join us for those. Those will also be made available on our YouTube channel after they've been recorded. Really glad you were all here. Keep practicing, keep engaging in community. Join us online at PAX. Join us here in Redmond, Washington at Enzo Center. If you are joining us from around the country or around the world, drop a comment. Drop a comment on the live stream. We can help to connect you with local resources, local martial arts resources in your local community. Please like, follow, and share, as they say with the social media peoples, because we want to get this content out to people who it will help and people who it will serve. And I think that's it. Bye.